What do you got, Coach? 3 things that all coaches need. Who would you put on your Mount Rushmore of coaches?
New York or the Aces? Definitely going with the Aces.
All right, 4th down. Who has the tougher job, coaches or officials? If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why? For Texas, it's different. All right, everybody, welcome to the Coaches Co-op. Listen, a coach will impact more people in 1 year than the average person will in an entire lifetime. Welcome to the Coaches Co-op. I'm your host, Coach P. What are we doing here? We are pulling back the curtain to chat with the amazing people who are shaping the world of athletics. Tonight, I am happy to introduce to you a wonderful person who is helping shape the world of athletics down in Fort Bend County. Y'all welcome Coach Jasmine Brewer.
I appreciate that, Coach. Thank you.
Coach, how are you this evening?
Hey, enjoying the summer a little bit. It's hot outside, but I'm doing really well.
It is definitely hot outside. Listen, speaking of hot, y'all had a hot year, okay? 26A champions, regional finalists, 31 wins. Okay, 26A Coach of the Year, 2024 Campus Coach of the Year, and the Fort Bend ISD Athletics Female Team of the Year. Coach Brewer, before we dive too far into this, I want you to go ahead and tell people where they can follow you, because people need to follow you and know all of the good things that you're doing. So where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
So my Twitter is at Coach Brewer 24. That's my personal Twitter. And then our program Twitter is at Lady Kane Hoops. And there you can see the amazing things that our kids are doing. Following me, you are able to just watch, the program and be able to see me also root on other coaches and be able to support in all the ways I can.
Good. So while we're there, Coach, so I just added a new segment. I was telling you about this. It's called Talk That Talk. Okay. So last week we were at the conference, and I want to send a shout out to Mr. Andre Walker, who is the athletic director of Houston Independent School District. And the one thing he said was, we don't do a good enough job of bragging, right? And that's kind of, that's not really what we always do as coaches, right? But he said that because there are so many great things going on in our schools, in our communities, and our programs. So before we dive into this thing, Coach, I want you to talk that talk. I need you to tell us about all the good things going on in your program, in your building, and in the Hightower community. Ready? Go.
All right. So we have just graduated 5 seniors that were players, 2 that were managers, of which 4 of them are going on to play at the next level. And I'm super excited about that. Of course, we had a great year. We just finished 31-5, 2-time district champs. And I was blessed to get Coach of the Year twice in a row. And so, just being able to grind with this team, we call ourselves a sisterhood. I'm big on culture, and we have, to me, one of the best cultures in the state. We love each other, we grind. And then I was just blessed to become one of the co-campus coordinators at Hightower as well. And so I'm just super excited to be able to impact our kids, impact our coaches in all the ways that I can. I'm a Hightower graduate. I bleed green. So just to be able to be on my campus and have that type of impact is huge. Currently, right now, we've gotten going into SAC camp. I think this SAC camp is one of the biggest turnouts that I've seen for our girls side. We have at least 15 kids that are in middle school that are at our SAC camp that will be coming to our skill, which is huge for us. We're big on getting to the middle schools and being able to get kids there. And then just our sports teams, you know, historically have just done a great job. We have some amazing coaches at our school that, I mean, our boys went 4 rounds as well. Our boys football team, our boys basketball team last year was able to win the district. And so, I mean, we're trying to build on that. And we have some new faces coming onto campus in the future. And so we just want to continue that. So we're just excited. We're excited to be, you know, our Fort Bend family. Fort Bend ISD is one of the best districts to work for. And so just trying to represent them and be positive impacts and continue to grind and work. Let the work speak.
That's good, Coach. Thank you for talking that talk, telling us about all of the good things that are going on, not only at Hightower, but down in Fort Bend. All right, Coach. For those of us who do not know you, tell us a little bit more about Coach Jasmine Brewer. So, Coach, you mentioned that you are from Fort Bend. So Are you Fort Bend for life? Like, did you start school in Fort Bend and then? Okay. All right, Coach, tell us about Coach Jasmine Brewer.
So I started in Fort Bend schools in the 3rd grade, went to elementary from 3rd grade to 12th grade. I was in Fort Bend schools. I grew up right behind Hightower. My mother still owns that house, still lives there. And so that is my community. I went and was blessed to get a scholarship to play at Loyola University in New Orleans, where I played 4 years. I'm a Hall of Fame inductee of this year.
Okay, congratulations.
Yeah.
Now, when you was talking that talk,
I'm not, you know, it's hard for me. You're right. I got you. No, but I was inducted last year with my senior team, and then I was inducted this year by myself. So I had a great 4 years there, went on to coach for a year at a private school in Lafayette, Ascension Episcopal, that gave me my coaching start. And then after that, I became a graduate assistant at Tulane University for 3 years, where I was able to, get loads of experience at the college level, travel. I was able to recruit. I was able to be in on recruiting and see what that's like. Of course, the scope has changed a lot now. And then I was able to get my master's degree for free, and I got my master's in social work. And so then after that, I said, I want to come home. I want to come home and coach at the high school level. And I came back. My first job was at Westfield High School as a freshman A coach. I loved that experience. And then after that, I came to Hightower and I worked as the JV first assistant under Deborah Mize, who coached me as a player for 1 year. And then I was able to take over the head job. So that's my coaching journey. I'm going into completing year 4 as a head coach, year 6 in total. And so I've been able to see the low of lows and the high of highs, and you know, being able to see what it is to grind daily and have that work add up and see the results has been an awesome experience for me and my kids.
So 4 years as a head coach, you have continued the success that Hightower is known for. So some people would call that a meteoric rise in the ranks. So I truly, so I was at Spring High School when you were at Westfield.
Yep.
So I have truly enjoyed watching you do such a great job. So let me ask you this. How or when did you know that you wanted to coach?
So I think I was a sophomore in college, and I did this trip with 11 other students at Loyola, where we had to basically nominate ourselves and go through this process. But you were picked to go to Belize, and it was something like a service trip, but it was like a 25-day trip off the grid, and we went to this village called Dangriga out in Belize, and we did half coaching and half teaching with the kids in the village. and I loved it. And it was very impactful for me. I built relationships with the kids. And so I remember leaving that trip and going, I want to do something around working with kids. But I was still trying to figure that out. Was that a therapist? Because that's my second love. Was that a coach? And so that was my start. And then when I got into being a graduate assistant coach, I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely for me. I love it. But I wanted to do, at the time, I wanted to come back to that high school level because I really wanted to be in a position to mold young girls that are getting ready to get into that adult life. And so I would say that's my journey with trying to figure out what I wanted to do.
So I feel like coaching is a calling, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, because I don't think it's not for everybody, right?
Right.
So do you think it's a calling?
Oh yeah. I think it's a calling because it's a thankless job in terms of, you have to have such a love for it because you're not always going to see the fruits of your labor. You're not always going, and that's with any job, but when it comes to coaching, it's truly something that you have to be passionate about because you're going to hit the highs, you're going to hit the lows, and more importantly, you're going to impact. You know what I'm saying? So I think that you gotta you gotta be called to do it, especially to continue to do it. You can start it, but then you start getting hit with the adversity, and then you're like, oh yeah, this is something that God has called me to do.
That's good. I definitely agree with you when you say it's a thankless job. I read something the other day. It said coaches stay awake at night behind other people's kids.
Oh yeah.
That is real.
Let that sit in a little bit,
Yeah. So Hall of Fame playing career. So talk about that, Coach. What were your days like as a player?
Oh
How old were you? Here's what I want to
know
first. How old were you when you first put that round ball in your hands?
Ooh, probably about seven. Back then, I don't know if they still have them as much now, but you had the church league. And, the church league started, 7, 8, went all the way up. And I remember being the only girl on my team. And, that was that was huge to me. That to me made me who I am because I was also the only girl on my street living in the cul-de-sac and the whole street. And we were a sports street. You know what I mean by that? And that we would go outside every single day and we pick a sport, which one? Football, baseball. And so I was an athlete because I spent a lot of time playing outside. But that's where I found my love at 7. And then I played all the way up into 22.
Okay. Hall of Fame, Coach. Hall of Fame. So I'm really trying to pull it out of you, right?
Okay. I got you. I got you.
So you were a hooper.
Yeah.
So
it started in, I really felt that I got that confidence in high school. And I always tell this story about demise because, I'm a humble person, and I'm just the type of person that, again, you got to pull it out of me a little bit. Now, once you do and you poke the bear, you're in trouble because I'm very competitive. But I never forget, we used to play open gym, right? And we have 2 sides of the court. You had the younger side and you had the varsity side. And, you probably still do that. Yeah. And so I was in 9th grade, but I went over to the 9th grade side. That's where my friends were. Then you had that varsity side. And I'll never forget, she was like, come on this side by myself. And I didn't really want to go. And she kind of gave me that look, come on this side. And I remember going, being so afraid, so intimidated. But that moment on, I was always on that side. So I was starting as a sophomore on varsity. And from there, it just grew. And so then when I got to Loyola, my freshman year, I was playing behind a post player. She gets hurt. I get thrown in that lineup. And it's time. It's like, all right, let's go. You know, and I also came to Loyola injured. I had a knee injury and I had a second knee surgery. And so, you know, going through that was a lot, but I ended my freshman year, freshman of the year, sixth man of the year, all conference, all academic. And so I went on to just thrive. And at Loyola, I scored over 1,700 points. I'm fourth in scoring all time. I'm second in rebounding. When I left, I was first in rebounding with almost 1,000 rebounds for my career.
Okay.
And I'm 5'8", but I got that lion, that dog, and I think that that's what really drove me in my career. So yeah, it was a good time. And I'm 6 in steals. I love defense, and that's the way I coach. I still do. But that really gave me the mind of a coach, being a college player for sure.
So, Coach, I'm glad you shared that, because I think people need to hear that, because we know, right? You go to open gym and the youngsters come in with their friends, right? And they spend time over there with their friends.
Yep.
And it takes a coach to sometimes say, hey, did you
come on
for this thing, you belong over here.
Yep.
Right. So shout out to Coach D. Mize for planting that seed in you, right? Because who knows how the development process may change if coach doesn't say, hey, come on over here where you belong, right?
She don't throw me to the wolves,
And listen, Coach, that's important. That is important, right? So we're talking to Coach Jasmine Brewer. If you want to follow her, you can find her on Twitter right there at Coach Brewer 24. Make sure you follow her program, a historically successful program down there in Mo City,
That's
Texas.
Right. Yeah.
The Lady Cane Hoops. All right, Coach. So you were just telling us what your days were like as a player. How successful were your teams in high school, right? So did y'all make it to a state tournament?
We did. We were a state finalist in 2010. We lost in the state championship to Cy-Fair and Shanae, Agumake, and Cassie Peoples. I'll never forget. But that was a super cool experience in itself, because to be honest with you, that entire year, and that's why I always that's another reason I love coaching, is, to be honest, we were a good team, but state wasn't even on our radar. We just loved basketball. And these were girls that we've been playing together for 3, 4, some of us 5, 6, 7 years since middle school. And so it was just like a daily grind. We were close. We had good relationships. We loved Demise. And so it was like, when we got there, it was like, oh man, like, you know what I mean? We're here. And so now we here, let's go. They done messed up. We used to say a saying, they done messed up, let us get here. And so, then we're in that state championship game, and we feeling Agumake and everything like that. But, and even though we came out without a win, it was still one of the best experiences of my basketball career, for sure.
That's awesome. Love to hear all Houston final. So we just had some news out of the UIL today that we kind of knew was coming. Yeah. So what do you think about the split divisions? What are your thoughts on that?
I love it. I truly think that it makes things more equitable. As far as, you're having your schools that, like the Division I and the Division II, and in the different divisions, and you're able to play people that, when it's different when you play in a school with 6,000 kids, with 4,000 kids, and you got 2,500. Your pickings are just different from mine. And so I love that idea of allowing that to happen. And, it's been happening for a while with football, and it's worked. And so I like the fact that they've brought it to other sports and allowed it to be more equitable across the board.
Yeah, I like it as well. Where I am now, if we're fortunate to continue to be successful, we're probably still going to be big school, So,
Yeah, it's not, you don't hit the same.
you know, so,
Yeah.
but I definitely, when you think about the state of Texas, right? The basketball here is so good,
It's so
right?
good. Yeah.
Um, and then 6A is probably the largest range, like you said, we're going from about 2,200 to
Yeah.
6,000, right?
Yes.
And that is crazy. That is crazy. All right, Coach. You talked about Coach D. Mize. I know you hold her in high esteem.
Yeah.
Do you have a Mount Rushmore of coaches?
I do. I
Okay,
do.
let's talk about it. Who's on your Mount Rushmore?
So my Mount Rushmore, I'm gonna start off with the college level. Dawn Staley,
The GOAT.
Pat Summitt,
Another GOAT.
Coach K.
Another GOAT.
And then, I hold my collegiate coach, Coach Kelly Kennedy, who's she's still at Loyola, in a huge esteem as well, can coach her butt off, really taught me a lot about the game. Of course, my demise is in there as well. And so I would say just thinking about who has directly impacted me, that's my Rushmore.
That's good. Coach, you mentioned Coach K. So, were you a Duke fan?
Okay, so no, I'm not I wouldn't say that I'm and D Mize would just, jerk me up, but because she's a huge Duke fan. But I mean, I'm a Duke fan, but not a diehard fan like that. I have studied him and just been able to, he's one of the coaches that I like to put in my toolkit when I'm trying to just gain knowledge, or I want to see the way he coaches. And I mean, it's just phenomenal, and what he was able to do has just been phenomenal. So yeah, no, I'm not a big Duke fan. I like Duke. I watch him, but yeah.
Yeah, I think so I'm probably, just a handful of years your elder. So during the time that I was coming up, man, hated Duke. Like absolutely
Yeah.
hated Duke. But, as I got into the profession, right? And wanted to learn and grow, I started to really, really admire what he did.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
have to.
and and he had his 4-year guys, right? And then the one and dones kind of started to come into play, and he was able to adjust and still continue to be successful, and then he went on to Team USA, and I was like, okay, this dude here is he a little different,
Yeah.
So just excellent, outstanding coach. That's a great list. That's a great list. All right, let me do my little commercial here. I gotta read it, but I probably can't find it. Okay, so listen, everybody. Thank y'all for plugging in with the Coaches Co-op. If you are watching on YouTube, please do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, then hit that little bell so you get the notifications. So every time we pull back the curtain to give you a peek, you are right here with us. If you are listening, whether you're listening on Spotify or Apple, man, go ahead and give us 5 stars. Then I want you to go ahead and tell a friend to tell a friend. Make sure that you subscribe to the Coaches Co-op podcast. Once again, y'all, we are here with Coach Jasmine Brewer of Fort Bend Hightower. She is Mo City through and through.
Through and
She's
through.
a 2024 Women's Basketball Hall of Fame inductee at Loyola University in New Orleans. Okay, 4 years at Hightower. This year, we talked about it, but I got to tell y'all again. This year, 26A district champions, Region 3 6A finalist, 26A Coach of the Year, 2024 Campus Coach of the Year, and the Fort Bend ISD Athletics Team of the Year. Coach Brewer, you got a philosophy.
Oh yeah.
It's bigger than basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that philosophy, Coach.
So my philosophy is it's bigger than basketball. I believe basketball is just a vessel. It's just a vessel for us to impact kids, for us to be able to touch their lives, get involved with them, be able to relate to them. And basketball is what we do. It's not necessarily who we are. And that means a lot to me. I tell my kids that all the time, because while we're basketball players, you can get very stuck in the identity of being a basketball player. But I am Jasmine that played basketball. I'm not just Jasmine, the basketball player. And I like to put that in my kids' ear, because it's very important for me for them to also have an identity outside of basketball, because basketball at some point in their life will stop. And so I use that bigger than basketball for a multitude of reasons. But my coaching philosophy is that, look, it's just a vessel. It's something that we love to do, and it brings us together for many reasons that are positive.
Wise beyond your years. So I want to ask you, at what point did you really figure that out? Right? That it's like, I'm Jasmine who plays basketball, not Jasmine the basketball player. When did you figure that out?
College. It was in college, because so when I went to Loyola, I was very intentional my first year. I didn't want a basketball roommate. And I wanted somebody that didn't have to do with the team, because I wanted to get to know other people. Even when I was at Hightower, most of my friends, outside of a couple of my best friends that were close to me, were my teammates, which is nothing wrong with that. But with me branching out, I'm like, I want to be able to involve myself in different things. And then I pledged the best sorority in the nation, in the world, in Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So now I'm even more connected to people who have nothing to do with basketball. Oh yeah. And so I just believe that would open my opportunity, open my experiences. And I'm just the type of person, I love to experience and learn and do things outside the box. And so I always get told, you have so many different layers, because I do, but that was important to me. So when I got to college, I was like, yeah, I want to tutor. I want to go to Belize on a mission trip. I want to become a Delta. I want, to be able to have this friend group that is totally different from me in every way. And they're going to expose me to different things. And that's exactly what happened.
Man, your kids are blessed. I don't know if
I appreciate it.
No, seriously. Wise, Coach, you're definitely wise beyond your years. I'm absolutely loving this conversation. I'm so glad that you accepted the invitation, because I'm learning so much, right? So all of these podcast episodes that I've done, I'm the lucky one. I'm just going to be 100% real. I'm the one who is so fortunate and blessed, because I get to talk to so many great people, and I'm listening to you. And what was your major in college?
Psychology.
Okay. I see it.
Mm-hmm.
I see it. I definitely see it. All right, Coach. Do you lose sleep during the season?
So much, Coach. I am and I get frustrated by it. I mean, I was looking at, I had saw on one of your episodes, it's like, what is your commercial? What is your superpower? If I could sleep 8 to 10 solid year round, forget anything else. That's what I would want, because I'm the type of person, when something is on my mind, I don't sleep well. And it doesn't, it could be basketball related. It could be family. It could be just me and, anything I'm experiencing. So during the season, on average, maybe 4, maybe 5, but I'm waking up at 3, and then I'm just thinking. I may go watch a play. I may go watch a YouTube video, and then now I'm up, and then now I'll go to sleep at 5, and my alarm is set at 6. It's the worst.
You fall asleep, and it's time to get up again.
It's time to get up. Yeah.
It is. I'm at a point now where I actually sleep best during the season.
That's why I wanted to ask you, does it get better? Does it get better as you get more experience, your years get added up? Does it get better?
So yes and no.
Okay.
So I actually had this conversation with somebody today. So I think with the more experience and the more perspective we get, I think we learn how to use our waking hours a little bit more efficiently, right? So it's like, for example, the game is over, everybody goes home, I stay in the office. I stay there. I'm gonna decompress, and then everything that's on my mind, I'm gonna get all of those things out of my head, so that when I finally get home, I gotta watch the game. I cannot go to sleep without watching the game, right? Because when I come in the next day, I don't want to guess, because our athletic period is in the morning, right? So our freshmen come in first period, JV varsity is second period.
Okay.
So I don't want to guess about something that I think happened the night before. So I want to have that fresh. So I just, I decompress whatever's on my mind, and I just kind of get ready for the next day. So I sleep well. I don't necessarily sleep long, but when my head touches that pillow, night.
Yeah.
Night. It is a wrap. So I'm learning. I'm learning to be a little more disciplined, and that's just in my life all the way around. So all right, Coach, I'm gonna throw some things at you. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right. Hardest thing about coaching that nobody really knows.
Hardest thing about coaching that nobody, and I think, it's, I don't know if nobody knows it, but just how invested you are in what you're doing, and how much I care more than you about what's going on in terms of how things go and how things, because sometimes I think people don't realize, like, you'll have somebody after a game, or maybe you lose, and they're like asking you questions as if you're not with this team every day, or you're not with these kids every day. And it's like, just as angry as you may feel, imagine being somebody that is investing the hours that we invest, the emotional, the physical. And that's the thing too, is people may think you just invest with your time. But that quote you said was perfect. I'm thinking about your kid, while I'm at home with my kid, or I'm thinking about, what's going on with my team when I'm sitting here trying to watch the game on the couch. Like, it's a 24-hour 365 type of job. And just because it stops at a certain point, or the buzzer sounds, my job is so continuous. And I don't think people, that are not in it can understand just how, intentional you have to be to not do it like that, to make it stop, to go, I got to be present for my family. I got to, be able to do that. So that would be mine for sure.
That's good. You're right, Coach. A lot of people don't know. Like, if all we had to do was coach during the game.
Look, come on,
man. All right, Coach. So that's the hardest thing. So what's the easiest thing about coaching that nobody knows?
The adrenaline you feel when you teach. I love teaching. Like, coaching is, and I think people group coaching and teaching together, and just, oh, you coach. But anybody can, in my opinion, can get on the sideline and coach a team. You don't have to have any experience. You don't have to have anything behind your name, any credentials. But when you can teach something, and then you watch your kids do it, or you watch the growth, or that adrenaline that you feel is like, it raises the hair on my arms. Like, I love it. And I think that's what I'm so passionate about. I love teaching, and then I love seeing it work.
No, listen, the gym is my sanctuary.
Yeah.
It is my sanctuary. It is a place of peace.
Yeah.
It is a place of peace. And then game day gets here. But that's another story for another time. That's another story for another time. All right, Coach, check this out. If you could be anything other than a coach, what would you be?
A therapist. A therapist. That's my psych/social work background. I love helping people. I love helping people, and I love thinking deeply. I'm an overthinker in every single way. I can overthink a one-liner. I can overthink a subtle gesture, but I'm also a studier of people. I'm very, very observant, sometimes to a default, because I'll see things and then I'm like thinking about it. And I'm like, that probably wasn't even that. But I would be a therapist so that I can sit down with people who are needing someone to talk to, and just give them the autonomy to be themselves and be able to really say what they need to say, but also, okay, what are your next steps? Because I still want to have that impact growing piece that I have in this profession. So without a doubt, a therapist.
Okay, that's good, Coach. That's good. All right, here we go. I've asked this question a bunch of times, and it's the data is leaning towards coaches. Okay, so in your opinion, in your professional opinion,
okay,
who has the tougher job, coaches or officials? In your professional opinion.
In my professional opinion, coaches, without a doubt.
Okay.
Without a doubt. And the reason I say that is, don't get me wrong, I think referees have a very tough job. That's a thankless job, very much so.
Yes,
but I think the prime difference between a coach and a referee that makes me go more with the coach's side is the investment. And like that, we talk about that 24/365. If a referee coaches a really bad game, right, and they are getting hauled from end to end, fans, coaches, players, and they could leave that game being super upset. They may even get home and have to have a few choice words to talk about it with their significant other or whoever, but they can go to sleep and wake up and look, I mean, that's back. That's the past now. I don't even have to. There's nobody talking to me about it. There's nobody. I'm not having to keep going and get myself up. So I think the investment makes the difference. Coaches have the toughest job because it's the investment that you have to constantly make and you want to make. And whether it goes your way or not, you still have to wake up and make the investment. You know, that's our job. So, oh yeah, I got to give it all. I got to give it to my coaches for that one.
That's good. That's good. You know, when you talked about the investment, I just, as you were talking, I was imagining an official going home and being like, man, I messed that call up. Oh, well.
Yeah. I mean, I really messed that up, but all right. So what's next? Now, I really made a bad call there, and now, we're out the playoffs, or now, we missed our opportunity to, or I wish I would have played this, did this, or, played this person. And it does stop, you go away, you move on from it, but it's not a blink of an eye.
Yeah. And again, you did say that officiating, it is another thankless job.
Yeah.
They have an incredibly tough job.
Sure.
Incredibly tough job. All right, Coach, we're down to crunch time. All right. So crunch time is 3, 2, and 1. So we got 3 in the key, 3 things all coaches need, 2 shots, 2 of the foulest things you've experienced as a coach. And then we ended with and 1. 1 thing, can be anything that you want to share before we exit. All right, Coach, we're going for 3 in the key. 3 things that all coaches need. What you got for us?
3 things. Number 1, a good support system. Whether it's your family, your friends, your mentors, you need a good support system. The second one that I would say is hobbies outside of coaching your sport. That's big to me. Again, that goes back to just my belief. You have to have an identity out of what we do to also be able to remember who you are, whether you're coaching, whether you're not, but also tap into your other passions. And then my third one is a good coaching toolkit. And that could be, again, your mentors. That could be a site you like to go to. If you're with have a subscription with the program, just when you need to motivate yourself, or you need to, you know what I mean, try to figure something out, something that's maybe beating your team or you're struggling with. But I think those are 3 things coaches need.
Those are 3 excellent things. So in case y'all didn't write those down, let me go ahead and run them back for you. So you need a great support system, which can include your family, which should include your family. You need some hobbies, things that you love to do outside of coaching. Get a hobby, y'all. All right. And then you need a coaching toolkit, right? You need a coaching toolkit, whether it be a subscription, mentors. I definitely recommend that everybody find a mentor.
Yeah.
Find somebody. And this is what it was told. This is how it was told to me. Find somebody outside of your building that you can go to, somebody who is going to be objective and steer you in the right direction, somebody who can help, correct, reprove, teach, do all of those things for you. That's good stuff right there. All right, Coach, here we go. 2 shots. 2 of the foulest things that you've experienced as a coach. What you got for us?
Ooh, so number 1, I remember last year when we were in the 3rd round to go to regionals. We were playing Katy, and the game was it tied? And they got the ball on the baseline, and we get out that huddle, and I'm thinking, all right, we get the ball back, and literally hit a 3, and maybe left us maybe 6 to 7 seconds. But it was that feeling of being that close. And we always have a debate with me and my coaching friends, and we're like, would you rather lose in a close game like that, a buzzer beater or somewhat similar like it, or would you rather get your butt whooped? And we're like, I mean, I've experienced both. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm can very much so admit that. But when you're right there and you feel it and you're like, and then it's just snatched, it hit different for me. I mean, both are tough.
Yeah.
Both are hard. But I think when you're losing for a while, and it's kind of like you're like getting to the point in that 4th quarter, and you're like, man, I'm down, whatever. You're still believing, but you're just, the human nature of you is also, you're dealing with it as you're, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As you're doing it, versus I'm right there, I know it, and then boom.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that hurts. That hurts. And
then the second one this year, right the day before our 1st round game, I had to bury my 14-year-old lab, who I'd had since I was 17, in high school. Went through college, went through grad school. And I mean, she just was, old age, but that was like my daughter. And having to do that right before you transition into a new season, emotionally was really, really, really tough. And yeah, still getting it together off that. I have another dog as well. I'm a big dog person. But that was like my road dog in the trenches with me.
Yeah. I hate to hear that. Listen, you're a dog person. I might have to send you one, because my dog ate my sandwich yesterday. That happens again. He's gonna have a one-way ticket. I mean, so disrespectful.
What kind?
I have a beagle.
Okay.
I have a beagle. He's 13 years old, and he just stubborn, and he's going deaf. So he's lost probably like 90% of his hearing.
Yep.
Right. But none of his appetite.
Oh, for sure. That ain't going.
Fool ate my sandwich yesterday. It had been years. It had been years since he caught me slipping, and he caught me slipping yesterday.
And he got you.
All right, Coach. That was 3 in the key, 2 shots. So this brings us to and 1. One thing, can be anything, that you would like to share with our viewers and listeners before we get out of here. What you got, Coach?
So it's actually a question for you, Coach. I think about this a lot because I wonder, just as the years go by, that sideline feel, what is it gonna change? And I am a on my feet the whole time, animated at times, very passionate, full of energy, could be jumping around on the sidelines, to where when I feel like the game ends, I feel like I've just did a workout,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
tired. And so then, but I do feel myself as the years go, that I get calmer. I get calmer in big games. I get calmer in big moments. And so I wanted to ask you, well, first, what's your style on the sideline? Are you up? Are you walking? Are you pacing? And have you felt like, okay, I started off this way and then now I'm this way?
First, that is a great question. So
Because I've
I'll
seen
tell-
you coach. I mean, I remember at spring, and I remember, you was going.
yeah. So I think I'm a mix of both.
Okay.
I think it depends on what your team needs.
Mm,
And that
I like that.
that is determined by knowing your kids.
I love that.
Right. So really, really knowing your kids. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is I was coaching sub varsity. And I was just animated. I was yelling, hooping, hollering. And then the official ran by, and I was on the officials, and she said to me, if you do a better job in practice, you don't have to do all that yelling. You want to talk about convicted?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I couldn't say anything because she was right.
Yeah.
She was absolutely right. So I have learned, again, going back to that being efficient, I have learned to be more efficient with my time.
Sure.
I'm a student of the game. So, always wanting to learn how to practice better, how to teach better, how to get to know the kids better. So I'm a combination of both. I will say I have calmed down a lot because just like you said, you've seen me and I'm going. I've had a lot of people tell me in the last couple of years that I'm here. They're like, man, we can't tell what you're thinking. Right. And I think part of that is knowing my kids.
Yeah.
Right? So coming to where I am now, we've had some really good success, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then my coaching style was kind of a culture shock, where I am now. So I had to kind of, let them play. Let them play. I'm doing a better job in practice. Let them play. Let them play. Let them play. Because as we're climbing this ladder of success, I don't want them. They can't see me panic.
Yeah.
They can't see me panic, right? Whereas sometimes, and then I'm gonna try to wrap it up after this. Sometimes you got to put the pedal on the floor because the kids don't know the moment, right? And then you got to rev them up a little bit, and then there are going to be times where, they're on it. All right, the other team's got momentum, and I'm not going to say anything because when you look at me, I need you to know that it's not time to panic. So
I like it.
That's where
I appreciate that.
I don't know if I answered your question.
You did. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I loved it. Yeah.
But that was a really good question. You had me thinking. All right, y'all, listen. This is what I need to tell you. I need to tell y'all that Billy Graham got it right. Coaches do impact more people in 1 year than the average person will in an entire lifetime. You have just heard from Coach Jasmine Brewer. Where can you find her? Look, I'm going to put it right here on the screen. I need y'all to go follow Coach Brewer. Wise beyond her years, killing the game, continuing the culture of excellence and success down there in Fort Bend ISD and Fort Bend County. with the Hightower girls basketball program. Coach Brewer, I want to tell you, thank you so much for your time today. I truly appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me. I've enjoyed myself.
Good stuff. All right, y'all, listen, we just pulled the curtain back to give you a peek of what this amazing coach is doing down there at Hightower High School. Listen, y'all, I need to remind y'all, coaches do what most people can't. Listen, we're going back to back tonight. So at 7:30, I need y'all to plug back in because we got Coach Charles Barnes opening up a new high school out there in Katy. He's coming in next. So appreciate y'all plugging in with us tonight. This is the Coaches Co-op. If you need to find us, boom, go right there. Coach B Hoops. Until next time, appreciate y'all.